Hey, this is ASpengler, and today we're having a tutorial slash walkthrough on how I have built some of my custom tanks and armored vehicles. Try to give you guys some tips on how you could get started on doing it yourselves as well. So I'll have some examples of my custom vehicles that I've built, walk you through the process that I use. Show you some parts that are good to have on hand. Also go through some of the old time-lapse videos of me making these vehicles. Kind of analyze that, give you some ideas on what goes on when building these, some of the planning processes and stuff. So with that, we'll go ahead and look right at some examples of vehicles that I've built. So what I generally do is find pictures of the actual tank in real life. So this one's the T-26. I have it in this tanks book. So generally I'll use this tank book to get ideas on what tanks I want to build. So I flip through it. For example, this one I wanted to make the T-26. So I saw this. It's a good display of the tank, but I went online, searched up a bunch of different pictures of the T-26. That gave me a better idea, so you could see the different angle views of the tank. So from that, you generally want to start towards the bottom of the tank. So start on the chassis. That's the best area to start, and it's kind of, unless you want to start at the turret, but I recommend starting on the chassis, because once you get the chassis right, it's easier just to build off of that. So one of the main things I'd say to go with when you're starting at, look at the road wheels on the tank. So a lot of these you just see all the road wheels, the gears and stuff. So go through your Legos, see what would best represent those road wheels. This one was a little bit more complex of a chassis. I could go to a different example. Here we have Panzer 38T, so that's this one. Had a little bit less complex, but you can count the road wheels here. They have 4 on this one, so I decided to go with a more uncommon type of road wheel. I could flip to one that is a little bit more common that you probably would see. So here in a big picture is the SU-76. So I ended up building that with a more common road wheel that you'd see here. I have a few examples of a lot of different road wheels and gears that are what I've seen as the most common ones that people use with building tanks, the ones I've used the most. So definitely a good piece to have. These are good as well. They're a little bit more expensive, but good to have. You can find these in a lot more higher quantities. These as well. This is one I just started using, but haven't seen it used as much. The gears are big to have, because a lot of times we'll use the gears on the sides. Smaller vehicles could use smaller gears and stuff, such as these two. And for armored cars, sometimes bigger tanks, you could use these Lego wheel parts. They can be in different color variants and stuff, so depending on what kind of gray or camouflage that you want to use for your tank. So they're basically all the same, it's just there might be a few little changes here and there. So getting back to the tanks, when building, I generally will look at the pictures, count the number of road wheels, the gears, kind of gauge what size they are, and then kind of see these road wheels look a lot like these ones in Lego, so I chose to go with those. Figure the amount that I needed, so I have 1-to-1 on the road wheels, got the gears as well, and then I kind of saw how those all fit together. I generally go the smallest, how tight can I pack these together. So you generally don't want to get a bunch of these and then space them as much as you can, because then you'll end up with a huge tank that's not very much in proportion to the scale that you'd be wanting to build. Generally with scale, I don't follow a specific kind of code. I generally choose my road wheels and then try to build everything around the scale on all my other vehicles that I've done so far. I'll look at reference some other people's builds online. I generally try to stay away from looking at other people's designs unless I really can't figure something out, but sometimes if you're starting out, it's good to reference if someone else has built a tank in Lego. You can see how wide they made it as a reference, how long they made it. That's I think is a safe thing to do. What I don't like generally doing is just looking at other people's designs and completely copying them. That's generally what I stay away from. But if I need to reference how wide they've made the tanks before, I say that's a good idea to do. Brickmania is pretty good tank builder to look at. They generally have their models a little bit bigger than I would generally do, but they have a good reference. They've done quite a few vehicles. So I generally start with road wheels, see how those look. You can check on other people's width, kind of go from there. And so then you just work on getting the base chassis. And then once you have that, it's then checking back to a lot of pictures online from books and stuff. Check pictures of what the tank actually looks like, and then just try to go off there. Find different Lego elements that will fit those designs the best. So some other tank examples we have here. Here's our Panther. So Panther is a little bit more complex. I'd say if you're starting, try to go with smaller vehicles like light tanks and stuff like that. But Panther was one a little bit more difficult. If you look under it, my suspension is a little bit more complex. The chassis is more complex than what you might normally see on the other ones. But so I'd say you see all these slopes and stuff. These kind of represent what the Panther's got, the slopes, so that's what I went for. Really tried to capture that front slope. So just really going off of a lot of pictures on the tanks. We have the Panzer 38T again. So I wanted to get that shape of the turret. And a lot of these things they don't happen like the first time you build it. There's a lot of trial and error. So just try to do a first draft, get the whole tank done, and then just kind of look at it from different angles, look at pictures. And at that point, I'd say you can go and look at other people's designs online, see how they've done things. Maybe pick and choose a few details from other people's tanks. I just generally will try to stay away from completely copying other people's tanks, designs and stuff. But referencing their builds and stuff. Oh, you like this detail here or there. Maybe add a little bit there. Just from other people's, what they've done before. Getting ideas from other people is a good idea. But generally I will try to stick to just pictures of the actual tank, seeing how I can represent that in Lego. So that's what I did a lot with this. With my Panzer 38T, I was really going at it for a while and I just couldn't get past it. I got the chassis pretty good, but I couldn't figure out the turret, so I looked at other people's designs online. I think it was Lego Uli that had a really nice looking turret, and I kind of, at least my gun area, I tried to model it a little bit off of his, and I think I got it looking really good after doing that. So definitely good to reference other people's if you don't think yours really captures the actual vehicle. So get some ideas flowing, but generally I'd say try to keep to your own work and keep it fully custom. But then moving to armored cars, I say they're a little bit trickier sometimes just because, but they also have an easier aspect. You can just use the Lego elements to get those tires on, start from there, and then kind of just build up. So you don't have that same kind of road wheel track dilemma that sometimes is difficult trying to work in suspension and stuff. So it can either be easier or harder depending on your skill level, I guess. Some armored cars are more difficult just because they're smaller and it's hard to really get the detail right. So I'd say generally start off with light tanks. Panzer 38T was a pretty easy one. Panzer 1s, 2, 3, fairly decent tanks. I currently only have the Brickmania models, but would like to make those in the future. As far as going off of tracks, going back to pieces, so I'd like to reference a lot of, just looking at these tanks, you can see a lot of the slopes and stuff I use. Those are good pieces to get. Going back to the road wheels and gears and stuff, these are good pieces to get. As far as tracks, the Lego ones are somewhat hard to find, so I'd say go with Brickmania. I'd say the best place to get our tracks and stuff. They are a bit pricey, but it's kind of what we're limited to do in the market and stuff. I think they have some European countries that will sell tracks as well, so you could look there. But for pieces and the gears and stuff, you can go, I'd recommend Bricklink as the best place to get stuff. If it's not already in your collection, you can go to Bricklink and just search up any different piece, and you basically can find any piece you want on Bricklink. So bricklink.com, definitely would recommend it. You find the part, find a different seller. I don't use one seller alone. I just find whatever I need the most and then kind of make a list off their store. But that was a lot of talking going through these tanks so far. Gonna go ahead and analyze some time lapses now. Hopefully that will be a little bit more helpful so you can visualize the building process going on. So we'll go ahead and go back to the time lapses, and then we'll come back here for a summary. So go ahead and do that. So the tank we're looking at right now is the Su-76. It's a little fast, but as you can see, working on the chassis right now. Got all the road wheels in there already. Put the gears on, sizing out the tracks, and so a lot of this area is working on just getting that chassis done. So a lot of good parts here are, again, those road wheels and just different connector points. A lot of Technic pieces are used to get that accurately represented. For now, it's getting more into the overall detailing. So a lot of good pieces are tiles, different slope pieces, all different sizes of tiles. I'd say are safe things to have, really good things to have. The cheese wedges are also another really good piece to have as well. And those are big ones. The hinge pieces are really nice for getting the different angles on tanks represented well. Headlight bricks are another good thing to have to get the different curves and stuff, or different stick out pieces. And so there you can see a lot of hinge use on these. Basically all the chassis is covered in tile towards the end, so that's again a really good detailing piece. Different rods and Technic pins and stuff are good for the guns and stuff. So that was Su-76. For this one we have Panzer 38T. You can get a little bit better view of the chassis being built. You get all the road wheels there, got my gears. I connected the bits with Technic pins and the Technic bricks, so you can see that. I will generally use just standard plates to connect everything else afterwards. Just those three 6x4 plates on there. Some people will try to use the Technic axles on the bottom just to make it smooth, but I generally will just use plates for simplicity. Headlight bricks on each end. That's how I got that extension out there, or it going towards the different sides. You can see a lot more of Lego tile pieces. So tiles are definitely a key thing again, so good to have all different kinds of tile sizes. You see some more hinge bricks there as well for the back detail. Headlight bricks also another key thing. There's the modified brick piece with the side, so you can build on the side. Those are another good piece to have. The sloped bricks, definitely another good piece to have. So there you can see lots of tile work. Go on to the turret. So turrets generally are pretty tricky. I'd say trial and error is big. So try it first and then just look at pictures again, look at how other people did it, make corrections. So this was not the end turret that you saw. This was my first try and I definitely did change that up. Last we'll be looking at the M20 utility vehicle you saw earlier. So definitely a little bit easier with the chassis, just getting those standard Lego axle pieces. Other Lego wheel bits, just put those on. You can see I used headlight bricks as detailing. Definitely not necessary, but just something to add in a little bit more detail. I wouldn't say you have to do that, but makes everything look a little bit better. Again, you could see there a lot of trial and error, switching things up. Try it one way, then change it again. Those cheese wedge pieces, definitely another good piece to use. The bricks with the little lip that sticks out on the edge, I find those are a piece that I use quite a bit as well. Standard plates, tiles, all different sizes are good to have on hand again. Again, we're seeing those hinge pieces. So it's good to do sections at a time. As you can see, I built the back first just because it was an easier piece to see, or section of the vehicle to see on different pictures. Try to capture one section at a time just to make it a little bit easier on yourself. So you can see that happening. I was satisfied with the back, so I said good, went ahead, started on the front to kind of get that angled slope in bit, use the hinge pieces, bits on the side. I generally will always do the turret last just because it seems to be a more difficult bit and stuff. So this one doesn't have a turret, but it is. There's two different variants of it, one with the Greyhound and this is the M20. So I did do this vehicle before, which made it a little bit easier. So there's definitely lots of trial and error involved. So you can see I'm rebuilding that section again because it didn't look quite right yet. So now I'm more satisfied with it. And then here I was just trying to get a weird curve in for the vehicle, so I just did a different technique with those Technic pieces and then just little snipped up or cut up tubing to get flex tubing to get different angle, I guess you could call it. So there again is another unique tool, I guess. And so just kind of finishing up in this one, just finalizing everything, making last changes here and there. So this is the M20 utility vehicle. Okay guys, coming back for the recap. Just want to get the last little pointers out. For parts, Trex, I'd say go to Brickmania. They are expensive, but they're good looking tracks. Easy place to get them. Different road wheel bits and stuff here and there. Any other parts that you use on the tank, I'd recommend going to Bricklink. So you can get any piece you need, and you generally can find them for really good prices. And so that's that. Definitely reference different pictures and stuff online. Books are good for ideas and such. But generally I'd say you first go to the actual pictures of the tank when you're starting off, and then if you do have any like different questions or you don't quite think you're capturing it, I'd say you could just reference other people's builds online, get some ideas from them. You saw the time lapses for these 3 vehicles, so you definitely saw the chassis getting worked on. It was pretty fast just because it was a time lapse, but I hope you guys kind of got an idea of how I do it. Start on the chassis, get all the road wheels, figure out the gears, find out how I'm gonna get those hooked on, and then kind of build up from there. Start one section at a time. So I generally will start after I have the base chassis, no detail. Start getting that front slope done, work on the back, then build up a little bit more, work on flattening everything out, get that the turret mounting area finished like that, finish back details. I'd say don't worry about the finer details and stuff like this area, the engine, different little things like guns and stuff. You can worry about that afterwards. Once you just try to get the main shape of the vehicle first. I'll lastly do the turret. Lots of trial and error there. I'd say if you trying to get anything captured the most accurate, I'd say just try to make sure you get the turret looking the best. A lot of good tanks look the best just because of the turret and how that looks compared to the actual tank. So definitely try to spend some time on the turret, getting that accurate, because definitely will make a difference in your project. So hopefully that was a helpful video. Lots of information being thrown at you. If anybody does have any questions, you can leave them down in the comment section below. Again, hopefully this was helpful. I know it's not always the easiest just having someone throw a bunch of information out at you, so hopefully that in some way you got something to take away from this. So if you guys like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.